So today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. It is 12:01, and this is the Board of Directors, Windham School District meeting, and I'm calling the meeting to order. We can start with correspondence. There was a bunch of correspondence regarding some of the information that's going to be discussed later on the agenda regarding bus repairs, replacements, different options of things. And so we will get more to that. Is there other correspondence, Kate or Dan, that you feel we should be discussing under this for the meeting here?
Nothing from my side.
You're still muted, Kate.
Mine was related to the change of meeting time, so I can put that in there. It doesn't have to be a separate thing.
Yeah, no, that is already on the when we discuss the survey, so we can definitely get to that as well. So I think we're covered in that department. With nothing else, I guess we can move along to public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? I don't think we have. Cord, do you have anything for public comment? No? All right. Changes to the agenda. Is there anything on here, or Bob, I didn't really get to connect with you guys prior to getting this out. Is there stuff that you want to see on the agenda that is not already covered?
No, I think I can cover that in the Super's report, the funding update, the enrollment stuff I sent you guys. Yeah, no, I think I'm good.
Perfect. Okay, I see more folks have joined on. We did go over public comment, but I wasn't sure if anyone had any public comment before we move on.
James Jobin, Jamez.
Okay, you're muted if there's anything you wanted to say for public comment.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. No, I have no public comment. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so moving into new business, the superintendent report. Bob, you go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll start off with the SU meeting that we had a week or so ago. And apologies, Abby. I'm not sure how. I think it was Rory was on the list before, and then when that whole thing changed, you just didn't get added. Apologies for that. So you're on it now. It was really it was a special meeting. It wasn't a regularly scheduled meeting, but it was a meeting that Rich had tried to get organized with area legislators to kind of unpack a little bit about Act 73. If you watch the recording, there was only Emily Long present. The other legislators did not make it. There was at least one last minute cancellation. And so there was some conversation around that. She walked us through sort of the timeline, if you will, of the implementation of the act, including the redistricting task force, which is already underway. And in short, I'll keep it brief. In short, the outcome was that Rich asked me to send out an email to all board members, which I did yesterday, to include a bunch of different pieces of information. In that, all the names and emails of all the state legislators and state senators, the actual bill itself, or the law itself, and the dates and times of the task force meetings, a link to the AOE website where that is shared, and so on and so forth. I will say that there are boards across the state that are having resolutions, if you will. I mean, they're non-binding, but they're motions that they're making to basically pass here's what we believe, here's what we want, and they're forwarding those in the minutes to the task force. And so that's one thing that you guys could consider doing if you had an idea of what you wanted out of the realignment. I'll just give you an example. So Stratton board, because the vast majority of their students head towards BRSU for schooling, definitely for secondary, they are working on trying to get something that might take a position that if and when redistricting occurs, that when the maps are drawn, that they be placed in a situation where their kids will be able to continue doing that, either by being placed in that district or by continuing to have a certain amount of choice or what have you. So basically some lobbying, if you will, on the behalf of the board. Marlboro board is also exploring some things. Dan talked about that in the meeting. They've had some conversations with Windham Southeast as well. So nothing has come of it, and I'm not sure if they're actually putting together a resolution, but anyways, just things to kind of be aware of that you can, as a board, articulate what your desires might be if you felt like you knew what the population that you represent desires. In the end, or how redistricting might help or hurt or you, or it might just even be like, hey, don't do this, or please do this, or whatever you guys were interested in doing. If you were going to do that, you'd probably want to get some language vetted. I'd asked the VSBA to help on Stratton's behalf. I've not seen anything come back from the VSBA on that yet. So if I do see something, I can pass it along to you guys, or you guys can develop your own language, or maybe Mark can help you with that or whatever. So any questions on that piece from that SU meeting or the email that I sent out? Because that's a lot.
What's the timeline of that needing to be submitted?
Right. Well, they've already started meeting. I think they had their second meeting already. They are trying to, I mean, I would say it's now is the timeline.
But okay,
yeah,
so it's as soon as possible. Okay.
Yeah, they have to have their report done the beginning, middle of December statutorily. So they are, November is their basically, I'm guessing, when they're going to be actually writing the maps, and from now until October is when they're going to be taking input, is my guess. So, but really nobody really knows. So, and just to add to this, once those maps, they send up to 3 to the legislature for the new session. Once those maps are received by the legislature is not bound to select one of them. So where it actually goes is a whole bigger question on what could be the next step there. And some of the additional things like the foundation formula and other elements of the act don't go into effect until such time that the redistricting map has been adopted by the legislature. So there's a lot of things, carts and horses that have to be arranged and ordered before something happens. But now is when you'd want to be thinking about that, and just ponder what that might mean. So does that answer, Kate, what you were?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Education funding update. I'm not sure. Are we looking for something more like at the statewide level, Abby, or something specific to your district? What were you looking for there?
So, there was from the previous meeting, you guys were giving us the update. That's where I took it from, was from the minutes on the last meeting minutes. Dan, do you have insight on that? I see you. Were you raising your hand?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. So you may have just spelled that out with what you were talking about. So,
Yeah. And that
an
wasn't at the last
enrollment
meeting.
update.
So,
I don't
well,
recall seeing that come from you.
I sent a PDF to the board yesterday. I could share it on my screen if you'd like me
Oh,
to.
I got it. I do see it now. Okay. That was okay. Attached way at the bottom of that chain of the email. Got it.
Yeah. And that was, in short, was you would ask for like, hey, where are our kids? And where do they go? And so on and so forth.
Yeah. So would you want to share that and discuss that for us, please?
I can. I'm just trying to figure out where it went. I had it here. Yep, here it is. Let's see. Okay, go back to my Zoom. Sharing is not turned on. One of you host people will have to turn on sharing.
Weird. Huh. There you go.
There we go. Okay. All right.
Sorry, I couldn't figure it out. It wasn't giving me the option.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries. All right. So I know there's a lot on the screen here. I apologize. That's just a Adobe. But in essence, if you look at in the middle of it, the number of students, total number of students you have is 40. Um, you can see there's a chart of where they go to school, public, private, or home study. Um, so, so for example, home study is 10% of 40. So you're talking about 4 kids. The private school is 25% of 40. So you're talking about 10 kids. And then the rest are in public school. It's broken out by grade level down below and where they go. And we have, oh, those I could label them before. Yeah, so you have the dark green is Leland Gray. The light green, I believe, is Townsend, and the other ones are Mountain School, and then there's one purple one that's I'm not sure what that one is, to be honest with you, but that's in essence your population according to our data um, of students by grade level.
And when is these numbers of, do we have updated information of families enrolling for this year is what I was also kind of trying to see, because I believe we have some newer numbers.
This is as of the spring, so I don't have anything new. Although I believe this is reflected for this current school year, though. Is that right? I think that's right.
Okay.
But so yeah, but I don't have any. If there's new enrollments that have come in, some of those are still fluid over the course of the next couple weeks to the first day of school. So there may be others that will come in, but that's what we have right now. I have
So-
not taken any calls at the SU office about new enrollments. So if they're going straight to private school, for example, we won't know that until a private school reaches out to us with a bill, and then we will know that they're there. And we'll have to verify residency at that point if they haven't done so already.
Okay, so part of why I was asking was this is going to play into the next item of business in understanding, kind of future planning and what that could look like. And what really made my, curiosity was we have had community members go to the town office, and B has been great with directing them to the website of the process of either going to Floodbrook. I know that there's additional families that are homeschooling in community. So just if there's additional families coming in, we'd want to reflect those numbers. And so maybe at our next meeting, we could revisit this and see if that's changed come September, when maybe some of that data has been updated. But that was kind of a piece of being reflective when we get into the next line item here as to how that can reflect, if that makes sense.
Yep, no, absolutely. No, I can give you something once school starts. I forget what you'll be second week of September, so we'll have good data at that point to be able to pull from.
Excellent. Is there any other questions from folks regarding the enrollment update? Don't see any hands. Okay, so we can move along to bus repairs, replacement, and the impacts on budget. So I know Heidi, Cord, Greg, we've received different emails of different options. Cord, I noticed that you're here. Would you be willing to speak a little bit to kind of what you found out and share with the board? I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully, hang on, let me let this truck go by. Hopefully it's not too noisy for you guys, but basically the bus went in for the summertime maintenance and inspection work. And during the course of that inspection, they decided that they wouldn't pass it this time based on the corrosion problems that were existing in the back of the bus. They have been there for a while, but this year this inspection cycle, they felt like they were bad enough that they wouldn't pass it the way it is. So they brought that to my attention, and that's when I circulated that email with the pictures of the backside of the bus, and that's basically the situation. They've done the PM on the bus. That would have been the routine PM that was needed this time, and they put together an estimate to do a temporary repair, which basically involves taking out 3 of the back windows and just covering them with sheet metal as a temporary fix to get through a few months, and finish the other miscellaneous checklist items that are required. There's a blower motor that needs to be replaced and a few, relatively small items, but they came up with an estimate of about $5,000 to do that. Again, they don't feel, and I don't believe anybody feels, it's a really good investment at this point, because it's not even really fixing the problem in the back. To really take care of that, they'd have to go to a body shop, and the panels on the back side of the bus would have to be replaced. And we're talking significant amounts of money for that. So, and time on top of everything else. So, it doesn't deal with the fact that if there's corrosion, on the back side of the bus, there's a good chance there's corrosion on the undercarriage. And we did have the problem with the leaking coolant line that was repaired by Reed's a few months back that had to do with corrosion also. So, we found, certainly from all the plow trucks in town, that, the older these buses or these pieces of equipment get, and travel around on, salt covered roads, the more the undercarriage gets impacted by corrosion. So, so that's the situation. I don't know what else I can tell you about that. I know Greg has come up with various issues that he's here now. I'll let him describe that. But that was one option that I could, ask them to come up with, is what they could do if we decided out of this that there was some value to spending $5,000 on this bus to get a few months out of it. But the only thing they would tell me is that they, felt like that would get it through to the next inspection, which would be in Christmas time. But beyond that, they couldn't offer any guarantees.
Thank you, Cord. So you said Greg is here. Oh, I see Mr. Ottinger's here as well. Hi, Mark. I thank you for coming. Greg, if you wouldn't mind, I know you've worked really hard coming up with some different options. Would you speak to that, please?
Yeah, sure. I reached out as soon as this all started to happen. I reached out to multiple manufacturers to see what was out there. We got responses from a Masters Transportation, which was kind of a nationwide group of folks that sell buses. They sent us a list of buses they had, which I felt like they were older buses. For one, they were high mileage buses. All of them were well over 100,000 mile buses. And I felt like they were very expensive based on what I know Todd tends to pay for used buses when he purchases one. Justin Maltese from Cressy, WC Cressy up in Maine, they reached out. They have a 47 passenger bus, 23,000 miles. I think it's a couple of years old off lease. And it seems like it's been the best option. And if I were to make a recommendation, I would say that we would move that direction and go that route. The other, like I said, most of the other things, what was it, DeVivo, which I think used to be DATCO, they're trying to get us into a brand new bus or a lease of a bus, and their lease values between 3 and 5 years. I don't know what their interest rates are, but they're coming in at over $120,000 on the total lease price on like a lease to own, which just seems obscenely high. So if I were to I would love to request the board to free up about $60,000 to purchase the bus from Cressy, to get it lettered, to get the new camera system in. As you recall, I also sent you a quote. The camera system you have is so old, all you can buy for it is a refurbished system to run it. And the company that we got it from is offering a new system with 4 cameras and a lifetime warranty, 2 terabyte memory hard drive to run it for like $2,300. I think, if you could do that for like 50 and 53, I think we'd probably have to pay a little bit more here and there for getting lettering done ASAP, getting inspections done ASAP. So we may end up overpaying. So like, I guess if I were to ask, I would say it would be a request of $60,000 to try to get that bus and get it ready to start school. And I think that it would really put you guys in a good spot for the next handful of years, moving forward. So that would be my thought anyways.
Thank you, Greg. So there's a lot going on with the bus, and with options. And there's also, I don't know if Cord, is Heidi here? No, she's not here. Okay. So,
Abby, just so you know, Heidi is not here, but Sue Petrie from Heidi's office is here, who does
oh,
accounts payable.
fabulous.
If you have questions about the financial, Sue can help answer that.
Thank you so much, Sue. Perfect. So there was information in our town report, Windham Town Report, and that the last meeting we were going to discuss getting an update about information missing for the transportation budget as reflected in the report. And is that something that you can talk about?
Well, Heidi and I talked about that. We didn't understand what your question was there. We weren't sure what was missing. The annual report from Wyndham, we don't produce. We just create the budget. So we're not exactly sure what you mean by missing information.
I'm gonna have to get the town report and pull that up. I don't have that on me right now. So we can move on from that. And I do want to, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, Abby, that we do know that we believe that you guys had the taxpayers authorized moving money from a transportation fund into operational reserve. But that was money that you guys originally had set aside for replacement of a bus long term. You moved it to operational reserve to give you more flexibility.
Okay.
But it could still be used for the purchase of a bus at this time. If you chose to do so, you would not need voter approval to do that. Your board could authorize that because it's in an operational reserve, and the voters already authorized you to use it in that way, or in a variety of ways, I should say, more openly. So you have the money if you chose to make a purchase right now of a bus. We've talked with Heidi about her potentials that she could pursue a bid exception with the state, because you technically, if something of the price point you're looking at would have to go to bid, but because of the emergent nature of this and the bus failing inspection, we could ask for a waiver to that bid process. So you guys are in a position, say, where you could direct Greg and Heidi and myself to move forward with that purchase if you so desired.
Thank you. So Mark, since you were here, would you like to weigh in on this subject at all?
On the bus or on the redistricting, or both?
Since we're on the bus, we'll go with the bus, but definitely the redistricting as well. So, if there's anything on the bus with, what's the situation we're facing, there's a lot of unknown factors that, I also have concerns about with busing is, we haven't had a time to get a part-time bus driver. I was super thrilled that Cord signed his contract for this year, but there's no roots in the ground as far as who's coming up next and how we're going to fulfill that. But we're kind of facing we budgeted to have the transportation offered for this year. So that is definitely taking place, but how we're navigating this, especially since we're not obligated to do so, how does that work? If you can maybe just shed some light on that, please.
Well, it sounds like the proposal for the $60,000 acquisition out of Maine is based on some pretty extensive research, and I take that at face value. In addition, the superintendent indicated that you have the funds in non-sort of designated account so that the board would have the discretion, essentially having the electorate approval in advance to apply those monies to that purpose. Ultimately, we look back at Vermont law, big picture. Busing is optional. I know you have a culture of having a bus, and I think time is of the essence. And so I would say, if you want to proceed in that way, you should move quickly. I don't see any restrictions from a practical standpoint. Finding a qualified bus driver, I've heard anecdotally that problem all around the state. It sounds like you've got the problem solved for the coming year, which is great. I do think that it's not too early to be thinking about years after that, in terms of, say, talking to the folks at either DMV or AOE who regulate school buses. I happen to go to 3 days a week workout facility with the guy from the DMV, Patrick, who actually oversees the school buses on behalf of that agency. He works closely in conjunction with the AOE, and I don't know who is currently essentially populating the AOE school bus position. He used to be a gentleman named Lindsay Townsend, but I think he's retired. And I would say that that's a really significant weak link, is finding a qualified driver for the year following the coming academic year, understanding that you have the coming academic year covered. So that's what I would have to say about the bus situation. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, it does. And since you're here, I would also like to hear your thoughts on the redistricting.
Okay. In anticipating that, I pulled something off my wall. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this manifestation of the state. This is a picture of 5 districts in your part of the state. Essentially, we're talking all this blue area. If in fact the legislature were to come down to 5 districts, there is a 5-district model that's been around for a long time. This is actually sort of an administrative grouping of supervisory unions that had been in place for things like teacher in-service grouping and so on and so forth. Obviously, it respects the spine of the Green Mountains. Interestingly, this central super district, if you will, is sort of straddles the mountains, but otherwise, one of the things that the points that was made by the superintendent was that some folks are expressing a desire that whatever is decided upon by the legislature should, take into consideration existing patterns of school choice. And to the extent that we have no idea what this Act 73, I guess it is going to turn into. In my view, this is basically a sort of huge legislative study committee. It may not produce the results that the legislature is willing to pass, but I think it's important for you to. I don't think that there's going to be concern if the 5-district model that I just showed you is adopted. I think that probably all of your choice schools are going to be within your district. That doesn't totally solve the school choice problem, because there's a question about when you have more than one school within your district, and obviously that would be the case here with these huge districts, then the question is enrollment policies. So what are, somebody within the super district wants their kid to go to this school or that school. It behooves your new enlarged school district to have an enrollment policy. And typically, proximity to the school in question gives you a leg up. There are issues regarding not making different families, separating families and the like. So in terms of minimizing travel, bus time, busing expense, or parental sort of dislocation secondary to long trips, I do think that getting ahead of that issue is going to be important. If you do end up in a super district like the one that's basically the southeast corner, not corner, but southeast 20% of the state, I think the battle will be more associated with your your internal district policies as to who can go to which school and who gets which priority. So I think that these changes are going to be absolutely profound in terms of how people attend public schools. I know that the governor is supportive of school choice. Whether there is going to be school choice layered on top of these districts, that would sort of solve one of the problems. But then again, it's the further you go, the more complex it is for some of the reasons that we've just discussed. I foresee really serious economic problems. I foresee, for example, with respect to special education, that the concept of what is a free and appropriate public education, a so-called FAPE, is going to morph dramatically. We know that special education supports, if you want to call it that, or regulation from the federal level is being markedly reduced. There's talk about having it be essentially not just eliminated, but actually passed off to other agencies. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. At best, you then have a different agency with no familiarity in terms of special ed, trying to get up to speed on that. I think the likely outcome is that, in fact, the U.S. Department of Education's responsibilities, historic responsibilities vis-a-vis special ed, are going to get devolved to the states. Superficially, that sounds like good news for those of us that favor local control. But one of the big questions is going to be, will all of the existing money follow? And I think the answer to that is likely no. And so I am seeing in my private practice a lot of unhappy families in terms of the level of support that their kids with learning disabilities are being subjected to. So I'll end in terms of my preliminary reaction to the redistricting, to say that I think it's very impossible. It's impossible to predict what exactly is going to be happening. I think you should designate one or more individuals that should be following the redistricting commission's work. But also keep in mind that that's only one component of the changes that in the aggregate are Act 73. Some of the implementation dates are out as far as I think 2029. So it's also something that is not going to change right away. So I would stay on top of that, understand that it's going to be a long time, if ever, until significant comprehensive change is going to come your way. And in the meantime, just focus on assuring that the coming year and the year after that are going to be as efficient and as high quality as you can assure.
Thank you very much, Mark. That's very helpful information. And so I guess I just have a question. I was unable to attend the last meeting where they assigned people to be a part of the task force in the district. So I wasn't able to participate because I didn't have access to the meeting. Is that Bob or Mark? Is there something that I could do to remain or
Yeah.
still involved?
Yeah, just reach out to Rich or Dwight is from River Valleys is sort of leading that. But there's one board member from each board who are, loosely our task force to follow the task force, if you will. So yeah, reach out to Rich. He'll put you in that group with Dwight Borum from River Valleys, and you can be the conduit for Windham School District.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so then we'll stay updated with that information. And Kate, is your hand up?
I was trying to look at the agenda and see where we're, because I have questions about the bus and how that ties into that. Did we complete the bus portion of this, or
We are still discussing the bus portion of this. It did Kate to kind of go back over to the redistricting piece because Mark was here and I want to value his time. But yes, anything, what would you like to bring up for the bus conversation?
Well, is there an answer to the notion that if we bought a new bus in the next year or two, what happens to that bus if our district lines all get redrawn? Who owns that bus? It's a big investment with lots of questions, and my brain's kind of spinning with alternative scenarios because we're not going to have a bus even for the start of school this year, correct?
Well, just to answer that, Kay, I think we can. I think that it's going to be a quick turnaround. You guys are going to have to make a decision today to go ahead with that. But I think you could have it pretty quickly. The longer answer, Mark can jump in to confirm this, but once you guys own a bus, if there's redistricting and you become part of a larger district, then that larger district will assume ownership of all assets that you hold. Okay. So that's what would happen to it. And that new district or potential supervisory union would, your district could still exist after all this is said and done. We don't know. But if it's
gets a new bus, those lucky folks. So
Yeah, that's the potential. And that's why I think, I mean, Greg's suggestion going with this used one, I think is a good option because A, it's not that expensive. B, you're not investing more than you have, and C, it's a modest investment just in case something changes dramatically. You're not spending as much money up front. But at this point in the game, you guys have made a commitment to transport this year. You have a driver, you just need a bus, and so having you guys make a motion to go ahead with that today is really what I believe you need to do and make that happen.
And so if I can just chime in on that, I'm not sure that I would agree that a larger district would simply assume ownership of the bus. Due process under the federal constitution involves when there's a taking by a government agency, and that could be the state taking something from a school district. There's supposed to be A, public necessity, and B, just compensation. So I think that from an accounting standpoint, if in fact, and let's assume that the school building has gone somewhere else, because my feeling is that, and again, the culture on this has changed a little bit over the last, say, 20 years. I went to the agency approximately 20 years ago. I left there approximately 10 years ago. And at that time, there was a very, very clear firewall between the state and between the districts. So my feeling is that if you spend $60,000 on a bus, and then 5 years down the road, or let's say 2 years down the road, well, the bus is still, has significant value. The state says we're going to take it over. I think your district should be compensated for that. And I think that that's something that ultimately is part of the big redistricting plan. I know that the state would have you believe, or maybe it's in the state's interest, to have districts believe that it can simply expropriate assets of school districts. I would disagree. And I think left to its own devices, they might attempt to do that. If it were to be challenged in court, I think under principles of substantive due process, the district would be entitled to compensation. Then you might ask yourself, so what's the difference? I mean, we're all municipal entities of a state. Does who actually owns the bus or who owns the school building? Does it terribly much matter in the final analysis? I think it does. But so I think that I wouldn't want to speculate which way that would go. I just think that there are two views.
I would say that during Act 46, when things merged, people lost buildings and buses. So that's kind of where I think the fear also resonates from, is when this changes, that's what's happened historically. So there's concerns on Windham spending a significant amount of money when we're not sure what the future is really holding. It's challenging if it's just going to get taken away. But the urgency still is there. We do have to figure out something. Is it possible, Cord and Greg, for repairs to get us through? Because we still have a letter that we're sending to the West River District to be talking about just how transportation going forward is going to continue to look. And what are we doing? How are we going to have bus driving looking going forward? All that is like future planning that we're still working on. And, we don't know the answers to that yet. So it's a big financial risk for us to be considering, not knowing the longevity of it. So is there repairs that can get us through this year? And then if we need to purchase, we will have buses available to purchase from. That's just my concern.
In multiple websites, I found one 47 passenger bus. It is the one from W.C. Cressy. The ones that I found from Masters, they had some 40-person buses. They were, every single one of them was between $30,000 and $50,000 or more, and every single one of them had well over 100,000 miles. You're talking about thousands of dollars you're going to invest in a bus that is not in good shape. When I brought it up to you in the spring, it was because Todd Lawley, who you had been borrowing a bus from for 2 weeks for free, had said to me, "Hey, that bus is rotten and it's no good. It's rotting out from under itself." And for some reason, Scott Reed told you that it was in good shape for years to come, and now here we are, and it won't pass inspection. The idea of driving a bus around with kids on it with sheet metal welded over the windows does not seem like a responsible use and a good look for us. And I don't think it's going to make kids feel like people care about them. I I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I think 2029 is the number you need to think about. I don't believe it's the state of Vermont. I don't believe they're going to pull themselves together to make anything happen anytime soon. And if it were to take over a bus like that, it would be to transport Windham students. Even if it gets redistricted, Windham students still need to go somewhere to be educated. That's not going to magically happen. There are no bus companies to take over the whole state. They don't exist. I mean, we just put out Dover this past year and got no one to bid on it. So it's not like, just because the state takes over, all of a sudden these rural areas that struggle to fill positions are going to magically be able to fill positions easier. You know what I mean? All it is changing an entity of ownership and responsibility. The reality is, I would say that for the next 3 years minimum, you can count on your kids needing transportation. And unless Cord has told you that he's going to retire next year, I would count on Cord coming back. He's been a super reliable guy for me to deal with. I've greatly appreciated working with him. I think he does a great job with your students. I know that last year with having both high school and elementary kids on the bus, some better cameras would have helped him a lot. I would not recommend investing those cameras into that old bus. So on multiple fronts, it really makes sense to in my opinion, to make the investment in your community with money that previously was taken for transportation. You moved it, but it was in a transportation budget. Your predecessors took this money and saved this money for your transportation needs. And I think that it would make a lot of sense to move to try to keep that as long as you can. That's my
So if I can just agree with Greg, I would point out a very strong agreement with the fact that if the state does purport to assume ownership of a bus, it's not going to move that bus to Burlington to serve Burlington students. And if it did, then I think clearly the Windham School District would be entitled to just compensation. But if it's just I completely agree. Don't count on any major changes for the next 5 years. And in the meantime, I think to the extent that you need a bus, you should buy one. And you should not worry that somehow it's going to be wrested from you in the event that there is a consolidation that's earlier than we're predicting.
Thank you. One thing, Cord, before you speak, I do want to ask, because you're going to answer it, and then you can speak. With this bus that you're talking about, Greg, it's a larger bus. Cord, are your certifications covered for that size bus?
Yes. Yep. You shouldn't hear yes.
Yeah. Yes. Go. Thank you very much. And go ahead.
Okay.
You had something to say.
I mean, Mark and Greg have certainly spelled out the logical approach. All I can tell you from my standpoint is that we've tried to keep this bus going and maintained as well as we can. And unfortunately, we've run into this obstacle that there's really nothing we can do about it except spend money on it. So they did come up with an estimate, a ballpark estimate even, of what it would cost to replace all the panels in the back. And they're talking, ballpark of $14,000 to $20,000 to really replace all those back panels on the bus. And that would leave you in a position where, or leave us in a position where, we still have a bus that probably has some undercarriage rust issues, and there'd be no guarantee about how long that would last. I'm sorry, really, this is coming up now. I have to say that because, we've certainly been trying our best to maintain that bus and keep it on the road as long as possible, because knowing without jeopardizing safety. But unfortunately, we've run into this year, and there's just nothing we can do about it. So I think, Greg has done a lot of homework, and they've answered the question. The only other issue that came up in my mind was the lease idea, and you've kind of answered this anyway. I was wondering what would happen if you leased a bus. Let's say you had a 5-year lease and you're paying a nominal or the lower price per year. What would happen in, let's say, 2 years if this whole redistricting happened? What happens to the debt? So I think Mark kind of answered that. That would be an unknown situation to a great degree. If it was the kind of thing where you could lease a bus for the lower rate, it would be a new bus. And, if you could walk away at the end, or if they took it and assumed the debt along with the bus, that might be one thing to consider. But it just sounds to me like, unfortunately, we're in a position as a community now. I'm saying, okay, we've got a piece of equipment here that's really lived its useful life, and whether we want to deal with it or not, it just has to be dealt with. So to answer
Thank
your
you.
question, no, I don't see any way other than the $5,000 temporary repair to really do anything to ensure that it would last another year.
And having been our honorable bus driver for as long as you have been, Cord, do you foresee our board having any potential conflict when and if hopefully you do this forever, Cord, but when and if you decide that you're not going to be the bus driver, having done this, do you see with our location and where we are, that being a realistic thing we're going to be able, or is it going to be a kind of a hurdle, do you think, for us?
Well, I mean, we all know that the hill and all has a reputation, and that people, hesitate to drive the hill, whether it's personally or in the wintertime, especially whether it's personally or professionally. But again, I would say to anybody who is interested in driving that Michael drove for a while and he didn't have any problem with it. I think it's like anything else. If you have safety in mind and are, cautious, you can learn how to drive the hill without, panicking. I have to say the transmission that's on the bus, and there's things that if we were buying a bus brand new, exhaust brakes and things like that, that if we were really specking out a bus from scratch right now, I'd probably want to talk about more. But this bus has a transmission that allows you to downshift, and the brakes have lasted a long time as a result of that. And that's a long-winded answer to your question, but I think if you had somebody that was interested, I don't think the ride would dissuade them totally. No.
Thank you. And Kate, I know you've been patiently waiting. Go ahead.
I think maybe you can help me with the wording, but I think we should make a motion about moving forward with, I don't have any, it seems almost a consensus that we need to purchase this. So I would like to make a motion towards that, but I don't have the name. Can you help me with the wording for for the minutes of who we're buying it from? Because I can't find that.
That'd be Greg.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I would request that the board approve up to $60,000 to purchase and prepare a bus for the 26 school year, not to exceed $60,000 with WC Cressy, pending a bid waiver from the state, which if we move forward with this, Heidi would apply for today.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to move forward with the purchase of a bus from WC Cressy up to $60,000 for purchase and improvement not to exceed $60,000 pending a bid waiver from the state.
Second.
Okay, so any discussion? I know we've had some discussion. Is there anyone else here who would like to chime in?
Oh, I just have a question. Is there any residual value? Do you get even a few $1,000s on a trade-in or a scrap, or is there any money to be had from the existing bus? That's one question. And two, I've always wondered this question, as long as you all are here, I might as well ask it. If the town wanted to go on a field trip, can we rent the bus on a Saturday and pay for a driver to go to somewhere we wanted to go to?
Okay, your
So-
first question, if you want, I did talk to Cressy about this. Sorry, Abby. They would be willing to entertain our bus as a trade-in, but they need to see it. Given the status, right, of like where it's at. I mean, if we can get, Dover had one that they were looking to trade in. They offered, and it was in pretty rough shape. They offered them like $1,000, which I think was a token like something, but we would try. The reason I ask for the 60 is I don't think it'll cost that. I think that hopefully we can get, 1,000 or 1,500 for yours, so it actually lowers the price a little bit, but I think we also may have to, we're going to be asking somebody to drop what they're doing and mark that bus, Windham School. We may have to overpay for a couple things like that in order to get this thing on time, and we may have to drive Cord up to Maine to pick it up, and there may be a couple of hurdles. We're willing to do what we need to. Cord, like I said, has been awesome to deal with. And if you were wanting to use the bus, the only thing I think you would have to do is cover up the school bus portion of it, and you could. And you could even have anyone with a CDL with a passenger endorsement. They wouldn't have to have the school bus endorsement at that point. And then you would, it's still Wyndham's bus. So, I mean, there may be some insurance things you would have to clear, but I think other than that, I think you could. I know that we've had times where we have a driver for a sports trip, and because it's not a home to school route, as long as they cover the school bus portion of it, they can drive the bus as, with their passenger endorsement and not the school bus endorsement. So, yeah, so yes, you can. There are some stipulations we'd have to work out.
And I'd just like to reiterate that the insurance piece is a big component. And if I were you, I would, if you're going to essentially, if the school district were to allow the town and or other third parties to utilize the bus, I'd want to make double sure with your insurance company and with DMV and with the AOE representative school busing consultant that the liability piece is clear. I don't think it would be a big problem. I don't see it as a huge risk, but I would definitely want them to approve that utilization before something untoward happens and you're trying to back into it after the claim has arisen, because that I think would be unsuccessful.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Jobin, did I see you trying to raise your hand?
Yes. So I just wanted to comment on the use of a school bus. Anyone can use it as long as it's like a municipal use, assuming it has a red plate on the bus. So as long as it's a municipal trip, that's fine for it to be used. And like Greg said, it can be, the school bus sign has to be covered. But for any school use, it does have to have the school bus sign, school bus endorsements for all of that. Can't be used for private, you can't charter it for a wedding or something like that.
If you're asking me, I think I'm not aware of any law that would prohibit that. Again, my biggest concern is insurance. As long as, I had the wedding in mind as you were talking, but if somebody needed to transport 47 people to a reception or something like that, I don't see a downside as long as the insurance carrier is aware of it and condones it and says it will be coverage in the event that there's an accident during the course of that subleasing out the bus.
From talking with Pat McManaman at the beginning of the year, a municipal vehicle has to be used by the municipality. It can't be used for private use.
Okay. Did you get a citation of the law there?
I did not. I just asked him about it during one of our school bus clinics that I was teaching.
And is this Patrick from DMV?
Correct.
I'll ask him about it when I see him tomorrow morning.
Excellent. Dan, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah. I was just pulling up, we had a capital or a transportation fund previously to kind of figure out what we need to allot to contribute year to year. Originally we were looking at FY29, but it seems like we need to move faster. But the expenditure we were planning to do was around 90,000. So I will say that 60,000 is attractive and kind of fits where we were going to contribute to even in 2025 as opposed to 29. So it's kind of half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. as far as I see. It makes sense to go ahead and purchase.
Okay. I am going to be the oddball only because I have a lot of concerns of unknowns, but I do respect the fact that there is the urgency and that we need to have this going ahead. So without any further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I
I
Those opposed say nay. I'll say nay, but the motion carries. So that is up to $60,000, Greg, and keep us updated with how and what goes on. And I don't know if we've seen. I know there seems to be like we've got to see their bus, they've got to see our bus. So I appreciate the work and everything that you've put into this. I know it was a lot, so thank you for that, and we look forward to hearing more as to how this progresses. Is there anything else for that?
Yeah, I'll keep you informed as we move through the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. District meeting time survey. Kate was great and sent out a survey regarding our meeting dates and times. This is something our board has been trying to, gather some information and figure out what is going to work best for our board and our community to attend. So with no further ado, Kate, you've got the floor.
Thank you. So I sent out a form. We got 9 responses. I want to see if I can share my screen with this.
And while you're pulling that up, Meredith, the person that is with Kate is Kathy Edgerly. So fails. Just for the minutes.
The host has it, right?
Oh,
Are you the host?
I may not be able to do it because I'm not a host. Abby, do you have it handy, Abby? Abby's muted. Maybe Abby's muted. So I can. It's a Google form. So what we were asking folks is if there was a meeting time where we could increase the chance for town participation if this was an inconvenient time. I listed things on scales of desirable or undesirable. Without the data that I can't share because I'm not a host, there was of the 9 that responded, half were actually more than half were requesting a post 5 p.m. And the time that 3 out of 9, which was the majority, was 6 p.m. or later. There was also an overwhelming amount of folks that would like it on Thursday. That was part of my correspondence, that there are some folks locally that work at Neighborhood Connections on exactly the same time that we have this meeting on Tuesdays. And so there was, from Barbara Jean Quinn, a mention that she would love to see it on a different day so that they could all attend. So that's the feedback that I have from those who were able to take it. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or concerns?
So we've previously had it on Thursdays. And I think that day got changed due to conflicts with like that day being a bad day for the board members to be able to get there. I know that is a rough day for me with my childcare. So that's something that, and originally the meetings were on Tuesdays, but we had moved them to Thursdays. And then I think, Daniel, you were also having challenges with work and Thursdays. So that was from the board why we were looking at a different day. And previous to that, it was Tuesdays. So we reverted back to Tuesday, but in an attempt to look at, maybe the time of day being at a lunchtime hour would allow more people to be able to come or less. We weren't sure, so we figured we'd give it a go because it might be when kids are in school an easier time for parents to be able to hop on if they're on a lunch break. But clearly that was not what the feedback was received through the survey, so that's not a good time. So it sounds like there's a preference for Thursdays, but in a later time in the day. What does that look like for the board? Because as much as we want to reach out, and include more people in the meetings, we have to be able to conduct the meetings and have a quorum. So there's that piece that's got to come in. So I don't know, Kate and Dan, what your schedules look like. Like I said, Thursdays for me are bad. I do not have childcare, so it's not impossible, but it would make my ability to physically attend at wherever we decide our future meetings are going to be held a little bit more challenging for me. But what do you guys have that's available? What's your ideas?
I mean, after work Thursday would work for me. We could even do right. What's that?
I see Bob with his hand up, and I assume that's because he probably knows a scheduling conflict that we don't.
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know, if you're looking at Thursdays, Marlboro already does the third Thursday of each month. So for Heidi and myself, for Greg, anybody else you'd want to have involved, the third Thursday, they meet at 6:30. So just keep that in mind.
We've previously done Thursdays. I think it was at 6. And that was at that time for me where my job was different, also challenging. I was flying from Bennington to get to the meeting. But I'm not in that same situation. So I could do a 6 p.m. On Thursday, if that is something that you can do, Kate.
I can do that. I can do Thursdays, and Kathy and I are looking at the town report with all the other meetings, and it looks like the second Thursday is not crossed out on the town scheduling bingo card. So if we wanted to keep it the second week, we could do that on Thursdays at 6 p.m.
Okay. And so compounding this challenge, as people may notice, as of last week, I was in the town office, and this week Kate's in the town office. The internet is not up and running at the school building yet. It is in progress. But once we are completed with the process of transferring the building, then we'll be going before probably to the select board to request where and what we can do to continue our meetings. So that is still up in the air. But the B and Kathy have been super helpful in helping us navigate these past 2 meetings we've had. So just be patient. We will be keeping everyone updated as we figure out all the next steps. So I move to change our regularly scheduled meetings to the second Thursday at 6 p.m. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we now know the date and time. The location is still up in the air. So we will tentatively have it be, I believe, at the school building. There will be select board meetings between then that we can get updated information. But by the time the next agenda comes out, we'll have that in the email that Kate sends out to make sure it's clear of the location of where the meeting's being held. Anything further on the meeting time or location that anyone would like to chime in? Yes, Cord.
Just quickly, to address that a little bit, the meeting house is going to be out of commission, based on the construction that's going there. So it won't work to be there. I'm happy to check with B and with the listers that Kate, I guess this has worked okay for you being in the lister's office, it seems like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think by the time your next meeting, I do expect that the internet will be active in the school.
Right.
And then there won't be an issue.
So I think my only comment was, I'm sure we can all cooperate together to get something together if it's at the worst case scenario to be what we're doing right now. So, for whatever that's worth.
Yes, I do. Our hope is to, as we continue to move meetings to a more appropriate, flexible time for folks, to expect more in-person attendance. And so we will have to plan ahead for that. The other piece is, clearly with the meeting house under construction. So we want to be aware that we may have to have some flexibility given programs and things that currently go to the meeting house will likely be moved over to the town office and to the school building. So with that, is there other information we should figure out for the meeting that you guys can think of? Okay, so we will move along to the Zoom account. So there, I had somebody ask me why the school doesn't use the town Zoom account. And I don't know if how things continue to separate going forward, if that's something that our board should be pursuing and talking to the select board about. And currently Daniel is the host for that account. So, how's that going for you, Daniel? Are you good and happy with that? Do you foresee anything where using the town account would be different? Both, just pretty much, what are your guys' thoughts on how things are going with Zoom and how we should move forward or not?
Yeah, I guess who would pay for it? I guess that's the only question. Otherwise, it's just a question of, getting credentials and putting it in. So it might make sense, but Bob has.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, so the Zoom accounts are licensed through the SU IT department. You guys are in essence getting an account for free because you're not paying an assessment for IT, but we didn't shut yours off. So you basically have that at no cost to you. There is a cost to us for the number of accounts we have, but it's really marginal. It's not a big deal. So if you want to stay, you're fine staying. We had at one point discussed moving to Google Meets, but we've delayed that. So at this point, you're fine to continue. That doesn't actually cost you anything.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yeah, then I don't think there's any reason why we should shift over. I mean, it could be a good backup account in case someone needs it, but otherwise.
I see your hand, Cord. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand. I was going to ask Bob, so can the town use your account?
Sadly, no, Cord. If I would for you, but no, it's for school district board meetings. That's really all it is.
I'm only kidding.
It's a good try, though. I like it.
Okay. Now, moving along, unless there's any further Zoom discussion. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the school building keys. So as the town is taking over the building, Bob and Greg, I believe either the last two keys we need to get back to hand over to the town. So I'm not sure how we can arrange for that, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Yep, I see Greg has left the call. I'll connect with him and one of us will run him up to the town hall.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And Cord, since we have you on the call, there are folks within the community, like the Historical Society has a key. We can connect at some point to discuss how I can get all of that to you and the file and all that stuff.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Old business. I move to approve the minutes from 6:10:25 and 7:2:25. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I just want to say, Meredith, you do a fabulous job. We're getting to approve financials, so you're going to get paid in the next step here. But super appreciate your work. You were quick and thorough and very much appreciated. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Oh, Mark, go ahead.
I have just one clarification. I am gratified to hear that the building issues have been resolved. I have not spoken with Attorney Bob Fisher, who represents the town, in some time. I would propose to reach out to him just to confirm that he is about ready to record the deed. The other thing that I would ask has to do with the school district's insurance. I don't know if the insurance company has agreed to continue insuring the building under new ownership, but just from an accounting standpoint, I would recommend that you conclude the district's insurance if the district is not going to be involved in any more operational activities at that building. So perhaps you could just fill me in as to where that stands in anticipation of my speaking with the town's attorney.
So,
Okay.
my understanding
Oh.
is that, we do have, so Kathy Edgerly if Edgerly fails, can speak to that as well. But my understanding is the insurance has carried over. But I'll let Kathy explain to that more. There is a payment in our financials, which is next up to cover, there's a cost for insurance. And so this is all good conversation to have. So go ahead, Kathy.
Let's see. So first up, I got a email this morning from Brella, and it's just, we're just stuck in there for a little while, and she apologized for the delay, but their lawyers saw something that they thought meant that the town owned the building, and so we sent them all this data, and Bob Fisher also reached out to them. But anyway, until they believe that actually the district owns the building, hopefully that will be this week. But until Brella accepts us, we can't close. So my email this morning said, "We're sorry this is taking so long." That was the end of the email. And then I think Heidi on the last call said that she had talked and that the insurance, we just wanted to make sure that as long as we didn't own the building, that the school's insurance was still active. And she assured us it was. So I think Cord maybe talked to Passive about it. Like, we'll add it to our insurance once we own it, but
Just like any other real estate transaction, we want the transfer of insurance to occur simultaneous with the closing. I will speak with Bob Fisher about that. No problem. Thank you.
good.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Mark. So did we approve the minutes? Did that all go through? Did we actually finish that motion?
I don't think we did.
So all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Approve financials. We have two pay orders. Pay order 14 and pay order 1. Pay order 14 is the amount of how much, Heidi?
14 is $10,938.75.
Okay, and number 1 is
$24,895.13.
so the 14 that included some bill backs, correct?
That is correct. Bill back specifically for transportation, Cord salary, and a little bit of some legal fees that we had handled for you.
Okay, so going forward, we likely won't be seeing many more bill backs, correct? Like, this should be kind of the end of it, because there are a lot of this that's on here. We won't be seeing, the town has taken over. So this should be a lot of the last of the bills, correct?
So bill backs have been significantly about the bus, because Cord gets paid through the central office, so that Windham doesn't have any payroll, so that you don't have to file quarterly. So you will continue to see bill backs. I don't expect much other bill backs, but that is pretty much what you should see.
Okay, thank you. And there was also the insurance piece, as we were just discussing. So when that payment goes through, what does that cover? Is it a monthly thing, or is it paying for how long?
So this is the annual VISBA insurance. So we're paying the full year of insurance for the building. And as soon as someone can confirm with me that the building is being sold, I will call them and get a refund issued back. But we certainly didn't want to just drop it as of July 1st when we didn't know when it was going to be sold.
Right, exactly. Thank you so much. And does BCTV bill quarterly? Is that just how they do their billing?
I would say it's not consistent. I would say sometimes we get several months at a time and sometimes it's quarterly, so
Okay.
not a lot of
Um,
consistency.
So, do Daniel or Kate, do you have any questions regarding this pay order?
Nope, no questions.
Kate, you're set? Okay, I move to approve pay order number 14 in the amount of $10,938.75 and pay order number 1 in $24,395.13. Oh, phew, my scribbled there. So can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries. Okay, moving on to the school building sale. Kathy, is there updates on that you maybe not already mentioned that you'd like to discuss?
No,
Okay.
just what I said.
Yep, you already got that. So we're kind of ahead of the game here, and this has been very wonderful having folks on the call today, and I think very informative meeting. Our next meeting will be next month on the second Thursday at 6 p.m. The location will be to be determined, and that will come out to folks as soon as we know more. Is there anything else before I move on to the last thing that people want to discuss or bring up or anything? All right. So the next meeting is, like I said, I motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Meeting has been adjourned and it is, well, where's my clock? It is 1:17 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you.